This episode of The Talking Dads is brought to you by Little Scholars Early Learning Center. Whether your family needs infant care, a preschool program, or before and after school care, Little Scholars' highly rated Step Up to Quality programs provide quality early childhood education at an affordable price. Visit www.littlescholars.net to get in contact with an enrollment specialist and schedule a tour of any of their 5 Lake County campuses. Here's the deal. Talking Dads fans are getting a little bonus right now. Mention that you heard about Little Scholars through our podcast when you tour and receive $25 off your registration fee.
All right. And I could definitely vouch for Little Scholars. I have a son that goes there. He loves it. He's happy every day to go to school. I got to say, it's a great place. Check it out. At least come take a tour.
Again, that's Little Scholars Early Learning Center where children learn, play, and grow together.
In a world where moms continue to dominate parenting authority and a father's role is minimized in society, 2 dads take on the toughest parenting topics on a weekly basis, all while drinking bourbon. They are the Talking Dads.
Welcome to another episode of The Talking Dads, episode number 25. I'm Steve. This is Ian. And today we have a special guest, Chris Illuminati.
Yeah.
That is his real name?
Right. You were supposed to mention that. Yeah.
I swear. That's the first question I always get.
Sure. I can imagine how that would get kind of annoying after a while.
It doesn't get annoying. One time, someone people ask me if it's a fake name, and then they're like, you should change it because you're a writer. And I'm like, change it to what?
Yeah, that's odd.
I'll use it. I'll just stick with that.
I like it.
I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So thanks for coming on with us tonight. Really appreciate it. The first thing that we do is we ask our guests to give us a little dad profile. So if you could, just take a few seconds, tell us about Chris Illuminati.
Okay. I'm a father of 2. I have a 9-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. I'm divorced. I live in New Jersey. And I am a writer. I've written 5 books and about 670-something Post-it notes about parenting.
Yeah.
Well, 600 and something that I've posted. I have like about another 100 done. So let's say over 700.
Wow. Very cool. Yeah. So Chris, you're the mastermind behind Message with a Bottle.
Yes. A mastermind. Mastermind makes it sound way more important than it is.
Well, I was going to say genius because I love it. And I'll just keep it going. Keep it going. Right.
Pile it on.
Just keep going.
So 2 kids, 9 and 6, you said, right?
Yes.
9 and 6. And what's that? So you're divorced.
Yes.
How is your, how often do you get to see your kids? How does that work with you guys?
So we share custody. I see them every day. I pick them up from school. They stay with me once a week and then every other weekend. Okay. And also the ex and I have this really weird thing where we get along.
That's awesome.
It's a great thing.
Doesn't happen. Like people think we're weird because we do, which I think is kind of a terrible thing to say about the world that we live in. That like, look, I understand like not everybody's going to get along, but the fact that we do get along, people are like, how does that work? Like, especially divorced people.
Right.
They think there's something weird or like something else is going on or like we're going to get back together. It's like, no, the marriage ended and we're cool. It's okay.
Yeah. That's good though. I mean, at the end of the day, we've had a couple different guests that have been divorced in different situations, not always pleasant. And unfortunately, what you see in a lot of those situations is, the kids are the one that end up suffering. And of course, no one wants to see that because it's not their fault.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and I come from a divorced family,
right.
And
yeah, you have a good situation
I have
too.
A great situation too. My parents got along very well. They lived close by. I got to see my dad all the time. Same type of thing. Like every other weekend, we'd stay with him, and we'd see him a few days during the week and everything. So it was great, and I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't have any problems, with having divorced parents. That was the norm for me, and I never had a problem with it. So I mean, like you said, there's always some people you see like there's negative things that could possibly come from it, but I never I never had anything bad come from it. So
Right. See, now on the flip side, my parents have been married for 53 years, and there's times they should have gotten divorced. So,
Sure.
sometimes you stay together for, I mean, yeah, they love each other and everything, but, it's sometimes you stay together for certain reasons that maybe not aren't the best.
Right.
That's a different time period. That's, where they come from, where you just like,
Sure, you just do it.
out.
Yeah, right. What I was going to say too is it seems like now with your kids, that's like the next generation of having now they have 4 sets of grandparents, right? Which is hell on you guys during the holidays.
Holidays are tough. So,
but it's cool that they get to. There's good enough relationships,
and they don't know anything different.
They don't know anything
And
different,
there's
right?
nothing wrong with it. And like you said, the holidays.
Yeah.
Something wrong with that.
Don't envy that.
There's a lot of running around, but we work it out and it's fine. It's all great. So I have no complaints.
Actually, I find that my kids like that better. So, to them, it kind of like stretches it out.
Sure.
Because you can't do everything in the day or two. So the holiday ends up being like a week of like, they get like a week of Christmas.
Oh, absolutely.
See like every relative and every side, like, by that point I'm done with it. But
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's how it was for me, man. Growing up, I had, 2 Thanksgivings, 2 Christmases. So it was no complaints here.
Yeah, not too bad.
I don't think my pants could take 2 Thanksgivings. I think I could only fit in 1 Thanksgiving.
Oh,
right.
dude.
Well, I don't know about that. You're an avid runner, aren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I run so I can eat.
Gotcha. It's not the other way around. Yeah, gotcha. Very cool. So, talk to us a little bit about Message with a Bottle. I love the story behind how you started it and what it's turned into. If you could just like how that actually started and everything.
Yeah, so the funny thing about it was when I first started, I mean, no one ever believes that, when you do something one time that this is going to be something that follows you forever. But so when I wrote the first note, my son will be 10 in March, and that's when I started it. Like, I can't believe I'm coming up on a 10-year mark.
Yeah.
Like, 700 notes doesn't seem like a lot, but 10 years of doing it. Like,
yeah, sure.
I don't think I've done anything for 10 years. My marriage didn't even last 10 years.
Right.
So what happened was, so after we had the first kid, the ex was going out for the first time, like leaving me alone with the baby and stuff.
Terrifying.
And like, yeah, it wasn't so much terrifying as in like, yeah, I mean, there's a little nerves to it, but like I'd been around. It was like, I don't know, 3 weeks into it. It wasn't like it was like the next day.
Oh, okay.
It was like, yeah, it was like 3 weeks into it. It was like the first I'd be alone. And she was like, being the nervous mom and telling me all the things that I'd have to do, while she was out. And she was literally going to be gone for like an hour. Mm-hmm. So I was like jokingly writing things down, and I was like, feed baby, change baby, don't let baby die. And I was just writing funny stuff down. And so I took the note and I stuck it on this board of all stuff that I had to do for my writing work. And I left it there. I completely forgot about it. And then a couple weeks later, I'm like getting rid of all the stuff that I've done, and I'm looking through, and the note was there, and I just started laughing, like for like "Don't let baby die," and I thought it was funny. So I took a picture of it and I put it online. And at the time, like Tumblr was getting big. This was like 2010-ish, and so I put it like, I think I had an individual Tumblr page. I put it on there. It did well, and then the next day I just wrote another one. And then wrote another one. And then it started to pick up steam, so I got it its own Tumblr. And then I would say within like the first, 6 months or so, like BuzzFeed picked up on it, and then a couple other blogs, and it's just like snowballed from there. And every once in a while, like someone will pick up on it.
Yeah.
They ended up on Good Morning America. That was surreal. Yeah, like when you see the 4 posts of Good Morning America, like holding your Post-it note, they like enlarged them.
Right.
Like, you see your handwriting on Good Morning America, and like Jesse Palmer and George Stephanopoulos are like reading what you wrote to like an audience of millions of people. It's kind of like you're watching TV and you're like,
wow,
like you can't believe that it's happening.
Yeah.
And then right after that, nothing happens. Like people think nothing. So stuff going viral, especially at that time when stuff used to like really go viral, like being on a BuzzFeed or a Huffington Post, like you'd really see your numbers jump. You'd think being on a national television show like something big would. Not really.
Really? Wow.
I guess there's a disconnect of it, like being on TV, then going to your phone and finding that thing, unless it really connects with you. Now, when those TV shows like that and the Today Show did it once, when they did it on their website, then I would get like
Because
quick.
it's that instant click. Yeah.
But the TV thing, like, does like people just don't register. They're just not like, let me go to my phone now. You know? Just,
Right. I guess that makes
True.
sense.
I mean, it's all. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome. Like, I'd love to.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Huh. That's very cool. So is it, so when you named it or when you started doing it and then you put it on your Tumblr account and was it immediately messaged with a bottle?
Yes. So it's it's a play on message in a bottle,
Right.
and again, it's one of those things where I didn't give it much thought because I really didn't think 10 years into it.
Sure.
You're
Sure.
gonna be here. And
You could have picked a much worse name for it. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
yeah, like we always pick something where like, I mean, I don't love it, don't hate it now. Like sometimes there's been times when I've thought of like something way better, but it's too
Right.
late.
But it is what it is.
Right. It's just me now. It's just what it is, and I kind of like it doesn't really like roll off the tongue as easy as you'd hope it does, But
That's something to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool. It's
It is
taken
awesome.
off. I mean, I remember seeing it. I don't remember if I saw it on one of the shows, but I remember seeing it in like a post or
I've seen
something
people,
like
so
that.
now that I think about it, and now that like we've started looking at your stuff and noticing all of your stuff, I'm clicking on things and I'm like, so and so shared this a year ago,
Right,
and like
right.
so like people that we know on
Yeah.
Facebook are posting these things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like
It's
okay,
pretty wild.
now we know the guy.
Yeah. That's always fun. It's always fun when like people will send it to me and they'll be like like people that I know in real life.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be like, my aunt in Idaho just put this on her Facebook page and she has no idea who you are, but I'm like, I know that guy. Like actually, so my ex is now dating a guy, and one day he was scrolling Yahoo like on his phone, and my articles that had been picked up by, I don't know if it was like Fatherly or something, and it was a picture of me and the kids, and he was like scrolling on the phone. He was like, "Holy crap, I know them!" And like he like took a picture and sent it to my ex. He's like, "Holy crap, your kids are on Yahoo!" So it's one of those things where it kind of like doesn't get old. It's like it's sort of fun.
That's
awesome.
cool. And well, it's definitely lasting. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something that you could really do forever.
I just can't believe
Yeah.
like how you were able to. So you said 700 plus post-its, the stuff that you come up with, like going
They're not
through
all
it and
winners.
seeing it, and it's awesome, and they're all great too. I mean,
Thanks. Some of them, like I look back at some of the older ones, and I was like, "Ooh, I was stretching there." That was
700 plus. I mean, that's a lot to do. That's a lot to come up with.
well. So here's the thing about that. So I have a new calendar for the 2020.
Yeah, I was gonna say something about the calendar.
Yeah. So that leads into like why I work ahead now. So I had a 2019 calendar. So the company that makes the calendar, it's called Sellers Publishing, and they came to me in like mid 2018, and they make these like daily 365-day calendars. So the reason they approached me was because they love my stuff, but also, so when you do a calendar like that, it's 365 days, but it's actually 322 pages because they double up on the weekends.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So the weekend gets one. So the reason they approached me because at that time I had like 340 notes, and they're like, so you already have year one done. So if you sign the contract, you have year one, then you have to do year two and year three. The only problem was, so year one, 330 notes, I did in the first 7 or 8 years of my kid's life. Then when that was done, I had to do 322 new ones in a year, and then 322 new ones. So basically, I've become like a joke writer where I have like a notepad full of stuff, and I just write down parenting jokes. Sometimes it's not always parenting. Like I learned that like as people have followed me through the years, it doesn't always have to be about parents.
Sure.
It could be about me, and that's made it a lot easier, especially because one of the hard parts is when you're doing a calendar like this or when you're doing the notes, like, so my kids are now 9 and 6. Newborns feels like 50 years ago to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking in that newborn phase, but people who are reading me, they do have newborns.
Sure.
It's like kind of hard to get into that mindset of like, what was it like when I had newborns?
Yeah. Try to remember all that.
Yeah. So it's kind of good that sometimes I'm around people who do have that experience, or I can like go back. So, and I don't always have to write about parenting. As long as it's like loosely based about my life, people tend to like kind of be okay with it.
So you did, you know, like a year's worth in the first 7 years, and then all of a sudden you get this calendar deal. So now does it become forced? I mean, you're a writer by trade, so I feel like it's probably not that big of a transition for you. Like if someone told me I had to do something every day, something like that, I don't know if I'd be able.
I would feel a lot of
I'd have
pressure
like
doing
that. What do you call it? Writer's block, like instantly.
Yeah.
So, but did it feel forced for you, or you just kind of roll with it?
You know, a little bit feels forced, especially when you have to do so many in so little time. My two biggest problems now are, and I feel like anybody who writes or even especially does comedy, stand-ups, things like that, my two biggest problems are, did I come up with this or did I hear this before and it's now creeping back into my head?
Yeah.
Or that's number one. And number two, did I write this before? Like, have I done a no like before? Because I can't remember all 700.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, especially like when I write something that's like really, really funny, my first thing is like, did I hear that? Like, I get kind of neurotic about it. Like I actually have now friends who do the whole like parenting meme thing, and I'll like send them the note, and I'll be like, have you seen this around anywhere? Like, this feels funny. Like I'm starting to question my own.
You have like a team of fact checkers.
Yeah, I have a team of writers. Yeah. That are like, or like team of helpers would be like, no, I've never seen it before. It's all
okay. So you just don't want to plagiarize yourself, yeah.
Plagiarize myself or plagiarize someone else because, like, you know, like things can creep into your head, and then like 4 months later, you come up with it, and you're like, oh, I just thought of that when really, and it could have been because with the work that I do, like, you know, I scroll past memes all the time, I read stuff, watch stuff, and you just kind of like soaks in, and you're like, is that my original thought? You know, if you're a regular dad who doesn't do stuff like this, you know, it's fine. But when you're doing it for a living, it's kind of
sure.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So you brought up real quickly about the work that you do. So one of the things that I was scrolling along was you have a recurring, I don't know what the terminology is, but you basically write about memes, right?
Yeah, I did for a while. I used to write about so I would write articles for people who were looking up what memes meant. So I did articles about the double rainbow guy. I did articles about the Cash Me Outside girl. I did people searching for them, and you start to learn a lot about these people and like what they did afterwards, and you're kind of like, wow, pretty much everybody gets their 15 minutes now.
Well, it's interesting. I got like sucked in. I was reading one that you did on the Spider-Man meme.
Oh, right,
from like the 60s,
yeah,
and like you went in depth of like how that started and like the costumes that were messed up and because it was like low budget and everything. I was like, holy crap! Like, I've never thought of a meme this intensely before, but it's kind of cool to know some history behind it, like some background on it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you know people pass those things all around, and half the time they don't even know like the origin of it, like the Firefest guy.
Oh
like, so like that people are like sharing like, who is that guy? Or the one that I share all the time that I don't even know where she's from. The one lady that's like kind of bent over and out of breath.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like what's that from? I don't even know.
I think it's from a movie. It looks like an actress, but I don't know what it's from though.
Right, but I know what the meme means, but I don't know.
Right.
That's I don't know how it is.
That's funny though because like it's almost like a layer of pop culture or whatever that like all these memes that I mean I love memes. I scroll through them.
Use them all the time.
How I get my business done.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Do you remember when we were younger and you'd hear a rap song that you loved and then you didn't realize it was sampled from an older song?
Oh yeah.
You listened to the radio and then you heard the older song and you were like, oh my God, that's the kind that's what the meme is like. Like I know I'm going to be watching something and be like, oh my God, it's the lady that's always.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Sure.
It's just recycled material that like, you just like repurpose for whatever it is. It's just that these memes.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm dying to know about the Spider-Man thing though. I haven't even seen
it's cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah. That's cool. So so you live in New Jersey.
Yes.
So is your ex what's that? I know.
Don't hold that against.
Not at all. Not at all.
Actually wait, how's it my arm work? So I have New Jersey.
There you go.
arm.
Oh, nice.
How to see it. It's kind of so. I just got that recently. So basically, the significance of that is because of my kids, I can never get out of Jersey. But if I escape every once in a while,
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I live in Jersey.
Very cool. So then you just kind of answered that, but your ex-wife and kids are in New Jersey, so obviously
like 2 miles down the road.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So for your kind of work, you do everything from your house, or?
I do, but I try to get out of my house as much as possible.
Yeah.
I'll go to the library. I live a block behind a Starbucks.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm there. Yeah, so I try to get out of my house. So I do work from home, but I try to get out of my house because for a while I was a stay-at-home dad, and I would like work, and I feel like I've spent way too much time in my house the past like 6 or 7 years.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask, because you said you were a stay-at-home dad, and I always think that that's an interesting term, because most stay-at-home dads, at least, are really doing other stuff. They're just also home with their kids.
Also home.
And that can be true for moms too. But that, I didn't know if you had to travel for work or anything, if that makes anything difficult.
I used to commute into New York. First it was 5 days, then it went down 2 or 3 days. But when I was a stay-at-home dad, I did still have like a full-time writing job.
Okay.
But the stay-at-home dad thing, you kind of like relate to that first because that's the majority of your day.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Like both things are 8 hours, but you're technically a dad for like the 8 or 9 hours, and you're doing other stuff. It was a juggle. It was not easy. Like I say this all the time about being a stay-at-home parent. Like it's not. You can't just like jump right into it. Like you got to know. You have to have the disposition. You have to and you're taking care of your kids, but still, you have to. The one thing I struggled with is the daily knowing what to do. Like not with the kid, but like, okay, we have an hour and a half to kill. What do we do now? Especially
right.
When you're a stay-at-home dad or when any parent, when you're a kid that young, like when your kids are that young, everything lasts for like 15 minutes.
It's all about It's all about
because you have these ideas in your mind, and you're like, okay, this is going to take up a big chunk of time, and the next thing you know, it's over, and it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah, you'll feel very accomplished, and then you'll look at the clock, and it's like 11:15.
Like, oh shit!
It's not even nap time yet.
I mean,
let's just watch TV for 5 hours.
Right. Yeah. So I own childcare centers actually by trade, and so I have a home office. I'm not always in my home office, but I have the ability to work from home most of the time. And I know even when my kids are sick, and I'm like, oh, it's nice. They can stay home with me. And I'm getting nothing. Even when they're sick, I'm getting nothing done at home. Like it's just, I don't know how stay-at-homes do it, honestly.
It's hard. And it's even harder when you're a writer because the writer thing, it's all about the flow and getting into it. Like,
sure.
Like, and even
distractions.
Even my kids now, they don't understand what work is. Like, Dad, I'm working. They'll be like, okay, but I can't stand in front of your computer. It's like, no.
Right.
Not right now.
I remember for Christmas or a birthday or something like that, I think my in-laws got my son when he was 3, so a year ago, like a little desk. And he was so excited to put his desk next to mine down in the basement. And I was like, hey, this is cool, and then like the first, 20 minutes of me trying to get anything done while he was down there, I'm like, all right, we're putting your desk upstairs. It's just not, it's cute, but not really practical.
Yeah.
That's why I always feel for and relate to the people where they're on TV, like some news show, and their kid comes walking in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I completely get it. Like, I know you could like lock the door all you want; they're gonna get in.
Oh, they're getting in.
It doesn't matter.
Or they're gonna bang on the door until you let them in. And
they're persistent.
Yeah, you can shut the door, but you're not gonna get any work done because they're gonna be banging on the door. They're trying to get in the whole time. So
they're persistent little shits.
Figure it out. It's like trying to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
try to get 10 minutes to yourself. The door slides up underneath the door.
Like, underneath the door, and you're like,
let's leave the door open now. Just come, you know what? What do you need? Just come in. Okay, now give me 5 more minutes.
I have the problem now. So my door does not lock on my bathroom. So if I go in there, it doesn't lock. So what I have to do is, luckily, it's close enough to the toilet so I can put my leg up against the door. So I always get the half, like, boom, like smash into my leg. They're like, Dad, can I? It's like, leave me alone.
Give me like 5 minutes.
They're pushing it against my leg, and I'm like, please just leave me alone. Just
Oh yeah.
My son now does, whenever I'm going to the bathroom, he needs to go to the bathroom at that exact moment.
oh yeah.
He'll just come to the door and be like, hey, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, I just sat down. Give me like 2 minutes. I'm like, all right, fine, hurry up.
It's a sympathy pee or a sympathy.
Yeah.
Whatever, what have you. Yeah, it just it never fails.
Yeah.
That's funny.
My 5 minutes of time.
Yeah,
myself,
I get it. All right, so one of the spots that we always do is we try and pull out some proud dad moments. So a little bit of history about our show. The reason we started this is because Steve and I have known each other for 30 years, and luckily we had kids around the same time, so we were always able to bounce stuff off of each other and talk about cool things, talk about great things, bitch about things, you know, all that kind of stuff. And not every guy has that. I don't know how it was for you when you started having kids. But we recognized pretty quickly.
We had a very good support system.
We were able to, you know, we had to do Easter stuff or we had to do whatever. Like we were kind of doing it together. So it wasn't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of, this is why we started this thing, is to kind of reach fathers or soon to be fathers to say, hey, like it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. And to reassure ourselves because, you know, we're kind of just starting this whole thing. So to get like, ideas from people who have older kids like yourself, you know, 9 and 6 years old, and to try to get advice and kind of things to look forward to as fathers. So that's like the whole thing we put together is because of that. So
we always like to try and pull out some proud dad moments because I think those are not only good for audience, but they're also good for our guests to take a reflection on something you've been really proud of recently or even from a while ago.
Can it be proud of like I've done or that they've done?
So both. We like both. Proud of your kids for doing something or proud of yourself for doing something?
Well, I'm going to give you 2, and they both involve my kids.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, I always wanted to I did for a little while, take musical instrument lessons. Like I took guitar lessons for probably like a month, 2, and then I stopped for 2 reasons. One, I had to bring my instrument. I was playing the guitar. I had to bring it to school with me, and I had to carry this giant case on the bus, and it was like the biggest pain in the ass in the world.
Yeah.
And all we did for 2 months was learn Mary Had a Little Lamb. And, you know, it was the worst song. And I was just like, screw this. And so I quit. And I regretted quitting for probably my entire life.
Yeah.
So my son took an interest in music probably around the age of 6 or 7. And I don't know if they have them around you, but we have like those School of Rock places. So imagine the movie.
Yeah.
They have those. Like
we really have anything.
I don't think we do.
Do we? No.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, they're franchise. So you go to this, like, ours is actually a house where like each room has different kids playing instruments. They learn like AC/DC, The Strokes.
Oh, so it's like legit School of Rock. Like
it's a legit
Jack
School
Black
of Rock.
show up.
I mean, like, yeah, like that's what it feels like. Like the first song my son ever learned on drums was White Stripes, 7 Nation Army.
That's awesome.
Now I had Mary Had a Little Lamb. He was learning 7 Nation Army.
It's like, well, I don't know why you quit.
Right. So he gravitated towards the drums. And so in the beginning, I had to take him. He was 7. He would go once a week. He's been going for about, I would say, 2 years. Probably like a year or so into it. You wait downstairs, and then they go for the lesson. You don't see anything. And they come downstairs, and they're like, all right, you're done, and you leave. So probably like after his first year, maybe a little more than a year, he come downstairs and he was like, hey, the instructor wants to know if you want to come upstairs and watch for a minute. And I was like, yeah, sure, totally. Now, I had not seen him play the drums since like the first day where he was just like banging on it. So we get upstairs and he starts playing AC/DC. And literally, like, I was holding the camera. I could feel myself shaking because I was like welling up.
That's awesome.
Because I'm kind of choking up a little bit now thinking about it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, like he has like a natural ability to play drums, and he's like really good at it. And he's like 9, and I could even like after this, I'll even share the video with you guys. Like he's
for sure,
pretty awesome for a 9-year-old.
Awesome,
like I've showed people, and they're like, "Holy crap!" So like the fact that like he did it and didn't quit, and sort of like we had trouble for a little bit because at his mom's house, his drums are downstairs in the basement, and the basement's kind of a scary place, so he doesn't go downstairs and like practice enough. So that's kind of my proud moment with him, that he made it way farther than I ever did.
That's
that is
amazing.
so cool, and I envy everybody that that plays an instrument, because I always thought, like, growing up, I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I don't really have time for that. I'd rather play baseball or something. It's like, and now now that I'm older, I'm like, damn it, I wish I would have learned how to play the guitar, or like,
Listen, though,
taking some lessons.
Not to brag, we were pretty awesome at Guitar Hero.
That's true. We were really good at Guitar Hero. This guy right
I was always on the drums.
And you know that zero of that translates to actual instruments.
100% correct. My brother's very musical, and at the time he was living with me, and I remember we were playing. Eventually, I went down to the basement, actually, where his drum set was. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get on this. And I'm like, no.
Where's the blue one?
I'm waiting for it to move so I know when to drum.
Right. Oh, that's very cool, though. I think anytime you can see your kids start something and then improve.
Yes.
And especially to that level where, it's just completely different. Mm-hmm. And like you said, see them stick with something and see that, perseverance, like that's amazing. I mean, I see that with my kids, but it's on a much smaller scale.
Oh, yeah.
It's like my kid's really focusing on writing his name right now. And like, it's still barely legible, but it's way better than it was
they draw a
months
picture.
ago.
Like, Sam drew a pumpkin the other day. He's 3, and I'm like, so proud of you. That's amazing.
It's small things. It's the little things, like the like writing, and when they just like wow you with a fact that they remember or something. Like that. Just like, what the? How do you?
Right.
How do you remember that? Yeah. The second one I have my daughter, so she loves drawing and stuff like that, and she, it's pretty good for her age. The other day she's watching. I don't know if you guys have seen these like YouTube tutorials where a guy basically draws on the screen and then you draw what he's drawing.
Oh.
And my daughter did one, and she's only in 1st grade, and it looked like the dudes on the screen.
Really? That's really cool.
Like I walked by and I'm like, where did that come from? And she's like, I drew it. And I looked up at the screen and I was like, holy crap.
That's
awesome. Just watching going down, and I, as a kid, like I used to draw a lot, and I love to draw. And the fact that like the two of them took the two things that I always wanted to do, loved to do, and then they excelled at it. And it's like, what? Maybe I never got that chance, but they did. And it'll turn into something for them. So you kind of get proud of the fact that like that people want to see their kids beat. Like some people don't want to see their kids beat them at things. Like I kind of do. Like
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean,
that's my goal.
I want, so let me ask you this. So kids are 7 and 9, 7 and 9, 6 and 9?
9 and 6.
Yeah, 9 and 6. So with the music, with the drawing or art, did you find yourself ever being pushy about those things? We've talked to parents before. They're like, well, and like I loved baseball growing up, and my kid loves baseball, and I'm fearful for the day when he says, no, I'm done with this, because I don't know how I'm going to react. Like in the moment, I'm thinking whatever they want to do, you let them try their own thing and make their decisions. But I could also see myself like, no, you're playing baseball.
Yeah.
Right. I won't say I've been pushy, but there's times when I caught myself, like, especially with my son with the drums, like, his teachers have said to me numerous times, like, if he just went and practiced a little bit, he could make that much more improvement, and it would make these lessons easier because we don't have to, like, recap kind of what we did.
Right.
And so you kind of, like, you push them, and then you realize you're pushing them, and it's going to make it not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you make it not fun for them, like, that's when they disconnect.
Yep, and they're done.
Yeah.
It's over.
So I've tried to not make it not fun.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Hey, you should practice but not be pushy about it.
Right. So, you got to say it in a way like, if you just went down there and practiced a little bit more, you wouldn't have to do, kind of in this way, not like go down there and practice.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
I struggle with that kind of stuff too, because I always think like right now at 4 and 2, typically a snack or some kind of other promise is a good motivator for them to do something that I want them to do.
I'm all about bribes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find
Okay.
myself
Yeah. You
bribing
said
my
it
kids
right. It's
all
a
the
bribe.
time. It's exactly what it is, and we are all guilty of it. So,
But I wonder as they get older if that will be as effective, or if the bribe just has to increase in value in order for it to be effective.
I think bribes are best saved for things that they don't really want to do at all.
Right. That makes
Like,
sense.
I think so if it's like they hate doing their homework and you want them to do your homework, like my son used to hate doing math.
Mm-hmm.
I used to he used to get these like math loose leaf like things, like the math sheets.
Yeah.
So I used to be like, for every math problem you get right, I'll give you a Sour Patch Kid. So if there's like 15 questions there, like I didn't give a crap. As long as he did it and did it right, I'd give him 15.
yeah, there's some incentive there.
Right. So, but with the drum things, like I feel like you got to like make it a longer term bribe. Like, okay, if you go and practice for this amount of time, this many days, at the end of like 30 days, I'll get you like a Nerf gun or something like that.
Right.
So
Okay,
it's
that
like
makes
something
sense.
fun at the end of that. Yeah. But like, so there's some things that are like daily bribes, and there's some things that are like long term bribes.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good way to put it. I like that.
We do it like, do you remember when we were younger, we had the book it, I think it was, like you had to read a certain amount of books.
Oh yeah.
And you get a sticker for each book that you read, and then at the end you get like
You get like a pizza, right?
personal pan pizza.
Yeah. Like it was a thing that Pizza Hut
maybe
did.
down the road you'd be like, all right, so if you get 10 stars for some big goal, like we'll go on a trip to Chuck E. Cheese, for example. Yeah. I mean, something stupid and small like that, but
yeah.
I mean,
adults, we still get bribed. Like if you have a sales job, that's what sales bonuses are.
That's true.
That's true. We're always getting bribed.
I guess that's the way of the world. Bribes are definitely a way of the world. Yeah,
absolutely. Bribes when they're illegal or bad, like when they're like a part of the business world, they're like incentives. But then they're like, when they're bad,
it's just different terminology.
Right.
It's all the way you angle it. That's what parenting is. It's calling terrible things good things.
That's true. So we're not bad parents for bribing.
That's fair. Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like if you were bribing them to clean your room or stuff like that, and then that's a little terrible.
Yeah, it's a little bad.
Like, I've never done that.
Yeah. You're thinking about it.
But you're thinking about it now.
Yeah. Also, like you were saying too about like with your like trying to get your kids to do something, you don't want them to be afraid of. You don't want to scare them away from doing it. I think about when I was little. My dad was very big on me playing baseball. I don't think he was ever forceful about it, but like he was always big on like we need to go practice. Like on the weekends, he would hit me fly balls for 2 hours. I would go in the garage and he would pitch me.
But it was always fun for you.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And he would throw me those little golf balls, like the little.
Oh yeah.
Right.
The little practice golf balls.
And I had like a broomstick, and I would hit into a sheet for an hour at a time, and like. But that's what I love doing. So I think my dad found something that I really enjoyed, and then we really worked on it a lot. So I'm hoping that, like, with my kids, I could get them there to something they love. Hopefully, baseball would be great because that was my game. But if it was soccer or something, I would work with it. I would figure it out.
I always think about it because the opposite of the incentives or bribes, which is positive reinforcement, would be negative reinforcement. And it's like, if you don't do this, then we're going to take something away. Yeah. And, you might be able to have a mixture of both, but for the most part, research tells you that negative reinforcement just doesn't work.
Yeah.
They're just going to disconnect from you even more.
Like you said, that's it. They're going to be like, done. I'm done with this. So is there any experiences that you had that maybe you felt like there was negative reinforcement and they kind of just shut off from like a hobby or something they liked or they didn't like, I guess, like a sport or an activity?
The one thing that I did is it didn't have to do with a sport or activity, but one thing I did when my son was young, and I regretted it the minute I did it, and he still talks about it to this day. He wasn't listening, or I even forget what context it was in, but like after like the 7th or 8th time of warning him, I broke one of his toys. And to this day, I regret it. And he talked about it to this day.
Yeah.
So wait, when you say that you broke one of his toys, it was like an intentional break, or like you just went too far?
I took a Nerf gun and I smashed it on the concrete ground like about 10 times. And I was just like, wham, wham. The thing about it though is that the one thing he forgets it was my Nerf gun that I to him. So in actuality, I was
already changing.
my
Right.
Nerf gun.
I can
that
smash
given
my
to
own
him.
Nerf gun.
But when he tells the story, he's gonna be like, "My Nerf gun,
Yeah.
my dad
Yes,
smashed
right.
it on the ground."
I mean, he still talks about it to this day. He's like, Dad, remember that time you smashed the Nerf gun? Like, I was like, wham! Like, I was smashing it on the ground. And it was mine. But, like, he had
Right.
done something to upset me so much. And
But
it's
that's
like
an
one of those.
awful feeling, though. I've had that feeling. Last Christmas, so we go to Chicago in November every year, and Disney does this like kick off the holiday parade or whatever. It's like the weekend after Thanksgiving.
in Chicago.
Yeah, in
Oh,
Chicago.
I said that.
And they have a Disney store there. And so my son was 3, and he was starting to get into Spider-Man. And so he got this, like, my in-laws bought him this, I don't know, probably $40 action figure that's like movie quality and everything. So we got that for Christmas. And a few weeks after Christmas, I mean, probably just a few weeks, he wasn't cleaning up or something ridiculous. It didn't even matter.
Yeah.
And I didn't smash it, but I was like, fine, if you're not going to clean up, I am. And I started throwing stuff, and this thing broke.
Mhm.
And then for like 3 weeks straight, he was like, well, Daddy broke my Spider-Man. So and I'm like, oh, he's telling his teachers at school. He's telling other family members. I'm like, all right, guys, I didn't break it. Well, I did, but it was, and I felt terrible.
It's one thing you touched on right there that it took me a long time to, like, pick up on, but now I'm getting way better with it. In the moment, I stop myself and I go, does this really matter? Like, in the grand scheme of things, does this matter?
I'm gonna cut you off for a second.
That's huge. You're right. Like,
It's true,
if
and that's
you
something
can-
to think about.
If you can stop yourself in the moment, we say all the time, be self-aware of your parenting styles, of your human style. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not something you want to live. You don't want to live in regret of something. I mean, I've had moments where I've done something, and I'm like, and then later that night when I'm laying in bed, I'm losing sleep because I think about, like, damn, I should have handled it that way.
Yeah.
I feel like a piece of shit for doing that, and I don't want to do that. And, like, you're right. Think about it. Is this worth it?
does it
Does
really
it really
matter?
matter?
Yeah, that's good.
Exactly. That's
It
huge.
doesn't really matter. And another thing I always caught myself doing, I actually wrote an article about this once. When I find myself, like, enforcing these rules or, like, really going crazy about this thing, like, whose rule is this? Is this my rule, or was this the rule that I had to follow when I was growing up that I'm now carrying over that I really don't care that much about, but I care about it because it would have gotten me in trouble?
Right,
So I
right.
find myself
That's
enforcing
deep.
rules
That's
that weren't even mine.
That's deep.
wow. That's something I never thought about.
I'm going to think about that now because
Stop thinking about that. You're like, especially like the clean room thing. Like, of course, yes, they have to, like, clean up and kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the stuff, I found myself a lot of times, like, enforcing these rules that weren't even really mine, and I just, like, once I let them go, like, I really don't give a shit about that. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
kind of, like, freed me up to a lot of things where I'm like, I'm not flipping out as much because it's not really.
well, that probably goes with the does it really matter?
Yeah,
like
right.
whether it's okay, the room's not spotless. Well, does it really matter?
Right.
And again, whose rule is it?
And
I like
why
that.
does it matter? If it matters, why?
Sure,
Like,
sure.
what's
Yeah,
the
for
why?
sure.
Well, and even if it does matter, it's probably good to
But it's going to take a
take a
step
second.
back and just take a step back and look
Right.
at the big picture.
Right.
Really think about it. And it's tough to do in situations where it's like in the moment, like to take that step
Well,
back.
but
you
taking
need
that
to-
step back probably does two things. One, it verifies if it is something that's super important. Then number
you're already
two,
taking a step back. You're already
it
realizing.
calms you down
Exactly.
and say, okay, now I can deal with this a little bit more rationally.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I always try to tell my kid now, it's like, smell the flowers, inhale, blow out the candle. And I need to do that myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like take a deep breath, let it out. I need to do that too because you catch yourself in these situations, these moments where it's like you.
My son
just
tells
need to
that to
settle
me
down.
sometimes. So he knows
So I
how.
was take a deep breath.
Well, Chris, are you familiar with Daniel Tiger?
Yeah. But luckily, that kind of passed my kids.
Right.
Like,
That's why I
they
wasn't
just
sure.
kind of
like,
got
they
out of
got
it when
more
they were.
like
But yeah, I
Blues-
know.
Yeah. So Daniel Tiger. So he does this thing.
Blue's
It's like,
Clues. Wasn't that like when we were younger? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting off topic. I'm just.
I don't know. It was on for like a long time.
I don't know.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Blue's Clues is back.
Is it really?
I saw that. Yeah.
With the new dude,
Yeah.
a new guy.
Not a little more
Uh,
Steve or the guy's name was.
It was
Did you guys have-
Steve.
Steve and Joe.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of TV, guys.
But Daniel Tiger does this thing where it's like something count to 4. I can't even remember the thing now. I'll have to look it up. But he'll stop. Like I'll be like getting ready to like really get into him, and he'll just be like, "Dad, count to 4," and whatever. And I'm like,
"That's good."
Okay. So he's teaching me too. So
that's good. Hey, you're doing a good job, Dan.
Yeah, appreciate it.
He's taking it in.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So
maybe Daniel Tiger should raise our kids.
Yeah,
right. At the end of the day, that's just what we're doing.
Daniel Tiger and the Wildcrats are going to take care of our kids.
That's right. Well, and that was the other day. I put on. I was going through HBO. I was trying to find something for the kids to watch. HBO. But it was no.
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street's on there. So I put it on, and I'm like, "Do you realize it's on the 49th season?"
Yeah.
Correct. Well, it's been forever. Yeah.
I know, but I remember.
But 49 seems like a long time. Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day, but I was going to tell you guys a story about the kids. Oh, so earlier we were talking about like you were saying like your kids going to school and telling them about something. So the other night, I might have told you this story already. I'm talking to my wife in the car about Christmas, and one of our situations that we have is splitting time at my mom's house and then at my dad's house on Christmas Eve. Because we do that with my side of the family on Christmas Eve and then my wife's side of the family on Christmas. So our solution was to split, instead of splitting the time at my dad's, my mom's, we're going to have Christmas at my house. My brothers are going to come over with their wives and kids. So I'm pulling it into my house. It's going to be a lot of stress, but we'll be able to stay at one spot.
Right? Yeah.
So I'm explaining this to my wife about how I had to talk my mom into it because she's like, well, you're ruining my tradition. And I'm like, so anyway, I'm telling my wife in the car, boys are in the back seat, and I'm telling her, I'm doing this with my hand. I'm like, I'm talking to my mom, and I'm doing this with my hand. All of a sudden, my son, Sam, he's 3, he goes, Daddy, why'd you hit Mom?
Oh, God.
I'm like, no. I'm like, I didn't hit Mom. I'm like, I'm just doing this with my hand. He's like, why did you hurt her? I'm like, I never did that. I'm like, don't ever say that. I'm like, I wouldn't hit anybody. I would never hit Mommy, nothing. I'm like, this kid's going to go to daycare tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll make sure that they know not to call CPS.
I'm like, don't say shit like that, buddy.
My mom, when she used to watch my kids, like whenever the kids like just, kids just randomly fall.
Yeah.
Fall. My mom or dad would always go, what are you, drunk? Oh, what are you, drunk? And my daughter took it to daycare with her. One of her friends fell down, and she's like, what are you, drunk? we had to talk about that.
Yeah.
Those are always fun conversations to have from the daycare perspective. I've had several parents come in and be like, hey, we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I remember one was, so we do these like little ditties like around lunchtime, and basically it's trying to teach them manners, and it's like you place your hands in your lap and whatever. For whatever reason, this one little girl called it her prayer. It was really the other kids were calling it a poem.
Okay.
She was calling it a prayer at home, and this mom came in and she was like livid. She's like, they're not here to be learning religion and this and that. I'm like, listen, there is no religion being taught here. Like, I promise you. And so like, I was like, I invite you to come and watch lunchtime or whatever. And like, she was fine with it. But like, yeah, I mean, kids go home and you take them at their word, and their interpretation sometimes is, even if it's literal, the context isn't always there.
Yeah.
So for somebody to be saying, what are you, drunk? Like, the first thing they're going to think about is like, well,
Wow,
that's what they're seeing at home.
Right. Some old 1920s expression.
Right.
That's something you never even think about, though.
Right.
Like, I say stuff all the time, and
right.
Oh shit!
Well,
He repeats it.
I caught myself doing that once, and the kids never took it to daycare with them. But the one thing that I caught myself doing was when I forget what exactly I was taking, but it was like something I didn't want the kids to have. Like, it might have been candy or something. They were like really young, and I used to say, Dad's taking his medicine. And I kept on calling it medicine until one day it dawned on me, like, they're going to tell somebody at school that, like, Daddy's always taking his medicine. And, like, always popping these. But I think it might have been for, like, working out, or maybe it was, like, no. It was, like kind of like 5-hour energies or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they wanted to drink them, and I'd be like, Dad's medicine. And then I, like, realized I can't keep calling it that.
You're right.
That's what I say, because you're going to say it in that way, and they're literally going to go back to school and say, "My dad's always taking this medicine."
Yeah, I'm not allowed to have it.
Yeah. Well, it's like for when we came to your house one day, I went to his house with my kids, my wife, and his son comes down in the basement. He's like, "Come on, Sam." My son's name's Sam. He's like, "I got my bourbon."
Oh yeah.
He's like, "Let's go down here." He's like, "I got my bourbon," and I'm like, "Where the heck did he get that from?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you got 120 bottles sitting here on your."
Yeah, well, and so I made the mistake because it was really funny when he was, 2 to like teach him how to cheers, and so he'd like have his cup of milk, and I'd have like a glass of bourbon. And they're like, "Hey, me and Dad are having our bourbon," and it was cute and funny, and
Until he's at school,
he's at school, and I'm
like,
just talking about
what is
bourbon.
in that
Like,
cup
oh
that you have?
God,
What did you bring in that cup today, buddy?
you live and you learn.
That is good stuff. So, another thing that we do. So we did our proud dad moment.
Yeah.
You kind of already had one, but what we call a dad hack.
Okay.
And I don't know. We give you an example if you need one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
Go ahead. You want
Okay.
me
So
to?
yeah, I'll go. It's fine. So mine was a quick one for like I'll say like a 1-year-old. My dad hack that I always used was changing my son's diaper, or no, his pants. So like after changing a diaper, you put on their pajama pants, and like they're always kicking their legs. So they're kicking their legs. You try to get the pant legs on. It's really tough. So what I would do is I'd push the first pant leg up all the way to the top of his thigh.
Mm-hmm.
So that one was on and it's not getting kicked off. And then you pull the other pant leg over, and it worked. I mean,
it works. I tried it out because it's not a natural thing. I would always try and do like both
at the same
feet at the same time. I get kicked in the face, and
pants are going everywhere. So yeah, that was it. Pull the pant leg all the way to the top, and you're able to get the other one out easily, and you pull it back down. So that was my dad hack. That was like a good example of it.
You know what? We thought of one the other day because the one I posted, one of my notes about the healthy food, put in its own closet, keeping it away from the kids' crap, so you don't kids' crap.
Right. No, that is a good one.
That's a really good dad hack.
Like,
We'll have
I
to
always
post that note.
We'll post it on our page. And is that loud on your end? Or are you okay?
No, it's okay. It's actually pretty good.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah. That's a good one. It's just like relabeling your own stuff and putting it out of reach.
Keeping you away from that closet, because that where the kid stuff is. Like I've got one right here. It's like it's got Oreos in it, all the junk food, Fruit Loops. It's like I shouldn't even be over there. Like,
I need to do that.
I do it in the morning,
especially right now, like Halloween time.
Oh yeah.
So my kids, especially my 2-year-old, I can't believe how much she's into Halloween. Like we went to like a hayride thing with a haunted house, and my son's like kind of scared about it, but like my 2-year-old daughter is like just laughing maniacally and like, "Daddy, I'm scared," and like loving every second of it. And then she's got this like little Halloween bucket full of candy, and she wants to take it everywhere with her. And so we told her that like you have to put it on the counter. It'll be safe right here. Then you go to bed.
It'll be safe right here until you come down.
The very first night, like I put her to bed, and I'm like downstairs cleaning up. I'm like, "Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy." I'm like, "God, get this away."
It's only to get worse.
You know what bothers me more now? I'm gonna rant for a second because
absolutely.
We had one tonight, and we didn't. My kids didn't go to it. I didn't go to it. You guys have the now trunk or treat thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we need holidays before holidays because getting candy isn't good. So now we have to go to a giant parking lot where people are giving candies and stuff out of their trunk of their car. Mm-hmm. So they're doing the thing that we tell kids never to talk to people that are doing. Like if you're in a parking lot and people are handing stuff out of your trunk, it's cool for this day. But every other day, don't take something out of the person's trunk.
That's true.
And then you're giving my kid a bag of candy 3 days before they're going to get a bag of candy. Like, can we stop this stuff? Just so the police can hand out a couple like bracelets and things like that.
That is very true. And I didn't even think about that. But and you think about it too. It's like, so growing up, I don't remember going to a ton of like this stuff, like all these events. Like now we have
calendars.
We do. We have so much stuff.
My wife is the instigator of the calendars.
There's so many things going on, and you're trying to get the kids to be excited about a holiday.
Yeah.
So like this year, for example, we've been to the haunted hayride, Patterson's.
Yep. We did
went
Halloween.
to trunk or treat. We went to Halloween. We're going to Boo at the Zoo on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
It's 5 things. And
That's 5 things before Halloween.
when we were little, it was
Halloween.
It was what I remember. Halloween was a couple days before Halloween. You would go get your costume ready with your parent, family or whatever. And like there was no candy involved. We like got pizza and got our costumes ready.
Yeah.
And then like one day at school,
like the night of, like just throwing stuff all over the place.
And then one day at school where you got to wear your costume, and then that night you went trick or treating.
Yeah.
Wait, do you guys have this now with kids? Like, here's the costume for school, but then here's the costume for when you go out at night. But then here's the costume that you can have that you agreed on to in October that you don't want anymore.
Yeah, this one's no
There's
longer.
like 17 costumes. Like,
it's insane, man.
And it's almost so bad that it's like the holiday almost grows stale once the actual holiday.
Oh, it does.
I'm over it already.
Like last year, I remember we were done with Halloween, and I'm cleaning up the decorations in the front yard. Like when I'm done, I'm done. Like I've cleaned it all up and I put it away. My son goes, "Halloween's over, time for Christmas." This is on October 31st. This is because my wife. So we're doing Christmas shit. The last day of October. So like by the time Christmas came around, I was like, and now we're doing the Elf on a Shelf. And like towards the end of the month, my son doesn't even care anymore. He's like, "Cool, whatever."
That's not a thing I do. I've never done stuff on the shelf.
We tried it. We did it last year, and here's the one thing I did. It just sat the whole time, and then 5 days before Christmas, I started making it exciting.
Yeah.
And then I started putting it around the house because I was trying to get him excited for Christmas again because it became lame almost.
Yeah. You're right, though. I mean, the holidays now. I mean, what holidays do we have left? I mean, like you have like July 4th. That is just July 4th.
Just July
right?
4th.
But even that, there's usually parades depending on what day of the week it falls on.
Fireworks are never on 4th of July anymore.
Yeah, that's right. I guess
fireworks are on July 1st, and then there's another firework down the street, and then there's like every town has one, and then you got there's like every holiday has like.
I guess everything is. It's just money makers, right? I mean, there's money to be made, and
so the trunk or treat thing. So I took my kids to Joann Fabrics the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I had to buy some fabric to make a ghost. They have trunk or treat kits for your car.
Yeah,
they have kits for it. There was like 5 different options. There was like the monsters with the teeth. I'm like, I didn't even know this was a thing until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's funny, like, you know who had trunk or treat stuff? Like, pedophiles and like people who want kids to go near their stuff. Like we should not be like encouraging kids to go to some stranger's trunk. We really.
So these guys in the van can open up the back and have a monster and like some stuff.
So I had never heard about it, and so trunk or treat specifically. I mean, the overlying theme here is that holidays are just too long, and it kind of takes away from the actual holiday. The trunk or treat thing, it started out in a good place, I think. So at least what I was told is the origin of trunk or treat was for kids who didn't live in safe neighborhoods. Somebody would, in the city or some business, would put on a safe space where they could do it. But it was supposed to be on Halloween.
Yeah, it's supposed to be on Halloween. But for
the
me,
problem is that we ruin everything by just making it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Like it's a money grab.
Further out and further out. It's a money grab or an advertising grab or whatever,
kits for those things.
Right.
So people are going to stores and buying a kit for it.
But when I was a kid, like if you couldn't go around in your neighborhood, you either drove to someone's neighborhood who was okay, or the mall used to do it. You used to go to the mall.
Right, you can go to the mall.
Yeah, the mall's
That's true, yeah.
But like my trunk or treat night, like today's the 24th. You know, like Halloween's the 31st.
like I said, we've already done like 5
We went trick or treating today.
Yeah, we went trick or treating tonight. We had our little local strip mall or whatever. All the businesses went out and did. And
I'm eating all that candy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I already started.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a dad rant there. I just kind of.
No, I love it. It's a good point, though. It's a really good point because I mean, I bitch about like the Christmas stuff all the time, and I love Christmas, but my wife's already got her calendar out of all right. This night we're doing this, and this night we're going out to see lights, and it's all fun stuff. But you end up having 3 weeks or a month of Christmas, and it's just like, does it ruin the day?
I think the activity should be right before the holiday, not like December 1st. You're already doing Christmas stuff,
right? Like I said, we go to Chicago the weekend after Thanksgiving. That kicks off Christmas.
Here's what we did for Christmas. Like the week before Christmas, my dad would take us downtown to Like
Oh,
they
like
had
Public Square.
Public Square and all
Yeah.
that. They had the Christmas
Yeah,
lights, and
it's
they had
sweet
like
down there.
you know, like in Tower City, they had all the Christmas stuff set up, and that was like the week before Christmas. Like you're on Christmas break at that time,
Right.
so like that was like leading up into Christmas, and that was awesome. I will always remember those times. But like when you're doing this shit like December 1st, it's like okay, now it's like
You know, used to kick off Christmas for me. Well, not kick off Christmas, but like when I really knew Christmas was coming, when Santa would come around on the fire engine.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
That was like, oh, that's when Christmas is really like almost.
Santa makes his rounds.
Yeah.
it's getting serious.
I got a funny story about that. I actually wrote about it once. So at the time, the ex was away, I think, traveling for business, and so my kids were like super young. I had just given my son a bath, and I took him out. My daughter was maybe, I don't know, 1 or something. I'm giving her a bath, and I leave her there. She was like old enough where I could like leave her in the tub. I leave her in the tub. I walk out of the room to go do something for my son. I come back in, and she takes a dump in the tub. So I'm like, oh no. So I like grab her, take her out of the tub. There's like shit in the tub.
Mm-hmm.
So I have her soaking wet. My son's half dressed. There's, and then all of a sudden I hear, and my son goes, Santa! Screams Santa. So now they're half naked. I've got a cup full of shit. I'm in the front porch with the kids, like, they're like drip. And like, my daughter's still got like poop running down her leg. And we're like watching Santa. And I can think to myself is like, there's a turd waiting in the pool. And like,
you know what you have to go do.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh God. So like Santa's coming by and I'm holding like one turd stained kid. And then it's like, oh God. And I'd like go upstairs. So then I'd take, so in that moment, you think to yourself, it's almost like Sophie's choice. Like, do I clean the tub or do I how do I clean my daughter who's got to get back? Like, do I run the tub again? Like, what? So like, I'm holding her in the sink, like cleaning her off. My son's like, Santa's coming back. I'm like, he's like on the porch, like freezing. It was like, this is the worst.
It's like, you got to see Santa, but there's shit everywhere.
Yeah, it was everywhere. He's like, and then they're naked, and our Santa like throws candy. So he's like, I want to go out there and get the candy. I'm like, you're naked. Your sister's naked. Like, we're not going out there. It's 10 degrees, and it's just like, oh God.
It's probably fine. They run out to go get the candy, and the neighbors are probably like, oh, well, Chris is probably just taking his medicine. It's probably fine.
So now when Santa comes around, like, I blast the TV real loud. I'm like, I don't hear anything. That's just a siren. Something's burning.
I'll be here tomorrow.
Someone's house is burning down.
Those are the best moments, though, in like the pure chaos. I mean, I've had tub shits before that I've had to deal with, and inevitably something happens. You know, like a couple weeks ago, the same thing happened. Well, not nearly as intense as that, but like, you know, my parents live in Arizona, and so like I had my daughter actually took a dump in the tub, and my son was like naked and running around. And then my mom FaceTimes at that moment to talk to the kids. I'm like, Mom, this is just not a good time.
Yeah,
you know,
I'll call you back
in a few minutes. And I'm like, what do I fix first?
Tub shit, you're right. So you have to figure out what to do first. So like when
tub shits are the worst. I mean,
okay, so both of them are in the tub at the same time. Ben shits. Then I have to pull them out of the tub. Like you said, though, you're like, what's the next move here? How am I going to clean this out? So I remember standing and fish this turd out.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, meanwhile, he's got like shit running down his leg.
Yep.
The other one's waiting to get back in the tub, and I'm like, I have to fish this poop out. I have to drain the tub. Then I have to get scalding hot water, clean the tub.
I got bleach in one hand.
Don't move. I got to take care of the tub so you get back in there.
I actually have the worst kid poop story, and it's not even my kid. And it's one of those moments where you would think when I saw this, I would not want to have children, but I still wanted to have children after this for some reason.
Yeah.
So if you'll indulge me for a moment.
Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
And
I
hope if anyone's listening to the podcast right now and they're eating, you might want to put your food down.
I'm excited. Weirdly excited.
So I used to be a camp counselor, and I was like probably like 18 or 19 years old at the time. And so when the kids came in for camp for the day, sometimes it took a little while for them to get off the bus. And some of them had been on the bus for a long time. There's one kid was on the bus for a long time, had to go to the bathroom. He didn't make it. So he ends up crapping his pants. He's probably about 6 or 7. So he ends up crapping his pants. So he's on the bus. And the counselor who got on the bus, I was like the head of the camp. Like there was a head of the camp, then me, then like all the counselors. I like took care of all like situations like this. So they come to me and they're like, little so-and-so crapped his pants on the bus. We need you to take care of it. I'm like, okay. So where is that? The camp was at a community college. So I get him off the bus. The kid is like mortified because he just crapped his pants.
Yeah.
So I'm walking him off. I'm like, listen, so they bring their bathing suits with them because they're going to go swimming for the day. I'm like, look, go into the men's room, take off your soiled stuff, put it in your bag, tie it up. Like wipe yourself like you're going to the bathroom, then put your bathing suit on for the day. And then give me the like crap stain stuff. I'll take care of it. Now, my big mistake, now I wasn't a parent at the time, obviously. My big mistake was letting the kid go in by himself and not going in with him. Like that was, but like, you know, like I didn't want to see, you know, crap.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You know, I was, you know, every man for himself. I wanted to be, so like after 5 minutes and he's not coming out, I'm like, something's wrong. And I was like, all right, I got to go in there. So I walk in the bathroom. The kid is standing at the sink. He's done everything I told him, except he was upset because he thought his mom was going to get mad. So he took the like crap stained stuff. He filled the sink with water and was trying to like clean it himself. So he was like swishing it around in the water. And like I walked in and I was like, and I turned back around. So I'll never forget. I turned back around and this woman, she was, let's say I was like 19 at the time. This woman was like 23, 24. She was an actual teacher during the year. And she like the camp and her name was Joy. And I'm like, Joy, you have to help me. And I like gave her the brief scenario of what's going on. Like, I swear to God, it was like the Navy SEALs went in there, like nothing fazed her. She was like, woof, like open the door. She's like, like started like, she's like, you take this, you do that, and like cleaned everything up. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. But it looked like he had like Nestle's Quick, and he was just like, and like that entire trying. Yeah. So I apologize to everyone for telling that story, but you know, never to let a crap stained kid go into the bathroom alone.
Yeah, by himself. You know, in your defense, you were like, what, you said 18 or 19?
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is go in there and clean up a kid's shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not getting paid enough.
Right.
You take care of the
so bad for the kid. And then, like, you know, I can only imagine, like, if that was, like, in that situation, like, if I'm not around and that was my son, like, how would I want someone to react to that?
Sure.
I tried to, like, help him through it. And then after a while, just like, dude, I'm gonna vomit.
Yeah,
exactly.
I had to delegate. That's when I learned delegation. That's when I learned leadership and delegation. I delegated that responsibility.
Yeah. And then Joy took care of it. Thank God for Joy.
Yeah, thank God for Joy. If Joy's listening, thank you, Joy.
I have no idea. It's been 30 years.
Yeah, right.
Shout out to Joy.
Oh, that's incredible.
Like, I mean, poop.
Aren't poop stories just like
the best,
the worst and the best at the same time? Like,
you can laugh about it now, but in the moment, you're like, "This is the worst moment of my life."
Well, and think about like, so that was a long time ago. Like now, with at least for me, with Snapchat, like I have to snap those funny stories, and they just go to a certain group of friends or whatever. But I remember, what was it? Was it last year or 2 years ago? My daughter shit in the corner of my room.
Oh, you get that Snapchat.
So like she had like diaper rash or something like that. So we were like, all right, we'll just let her air out a little bit. And she was walking around. And so we were just letting her go. So it must have been last year, I guess. Yeah. And we were just like letting her go, and she was walking around. We were taking care of my son or something like that. And then so she walks out to me and she's like crying. So she's not talking yet, but so I don't know exactly what's wrong. And I was like, just hold on, you're fine. And then, like, I start to see, and there's just like tiny little footprints in my hallway carpet.
Oh, she stepped in. I forgot.
So she stepped in her crap, and just like so there's just like this trail leading back to this like watery, terrible shit in the corner of my room. Oh,
it's the worst thing ever. And you see those videos online.
But I remember snapping it,
snapped
going from like, ooh, where do these little footprints lead?
Yeah,
Like,
this is fun. I give you props for that because when Ben took his diaper off in his crib, and my son took his diaper off in his crib, and he kept crying. And I'm like, okay, he's fine. I'm gonna let him tough it out for a little bit. He'll fall back asleep. Well, I should have gotten there sooner because when I got back, his diaper was sitting in his crib, wide open, with crap everywhere, and it's on his hands. It's on the railing of the crib. It's all. I mean, I didn't snap that to anybody because I was ready to throw up. I was like holding him. I'm like to the.
And you know what's funny? You know what's funny about that? How much things have changed. So like that all happens, and our first thoughts are, I have to show everybody this.
right.
We go like, when I was 19, the first thing I was like, I cannot let anybody know about this.
right.
And we're like, I have to show all my friends what my kid did.
Exactly, and that's how it is now and that's how it is. Like we could go into we go down the rabbit hole with this. Like that goes for everything. People see a crime being committed,
right?
And instead of calling the police or doing something about it, it's like,
well, that's one thing
I'm gonna.
We touched on before, like when you said about writing the notes and stuff. I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to like have ideas, or the kids are saying things, and I'm like, what do I want to really leave out there forever? Like Snapchat, it's different; it goes away,
right?
Like, it's not there anymore. But like I write these notes, and like, what do I want other people to know about my kids? Because they didn't ask for this.
Sure.
Like they asked, like, how much do I share about them? Like most of the times when I share stuff about them, it's them making fun of me or them saying something funny. It's not usually that painting them in a bad light.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it kind of gets there's that like slippery slope, especially because now my kids can read.
Right.
And like my calendar, my mom got my calendar on her desk, and my son goes over there on Tuesdays and he's doing his homework and he's reading the calendar. And some of the jokes are kind of like poking fun at him. And he's like, hey, I read your note today. So I'm kind of like, oh crap, he's gonna. So that was another reason too why some of the notes kind of like sometimes are getting away from the parenting thing.
Sure.
Yeah. For me, because I'm trying not to like scar them for life. I don't want 25 years from now someone telling a crap story about my kids swishing around.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, like even like what we're doing, it's all documented. It's all there, you know, until we take it down. And even once you take it down, there's always going to be evidence somewhere. One of the things that we said when we got started was, because we didn't think this was really going to turn into much. And we said, you know, at the very least, we're going to document like our fatherhood journey, you know?
Right.
And, I mean, we get fun with it. We have our moments where we bitch about something, and like one day our kids are going to watch that, you know what I mean? Like for better or for worse, but I mean, I think about that kind of stuff. And I mean, for
sure.
you, like doing something on that big of a scale where like, hey, my dad did that.
Reach a certain age where it could be super embarrassing, right? Like right now, at 3 years old and 2 years old, 4 years old, what have you, you talk about them pooping and stuff like that.
Right.
It's cool, but like, now if they're like, even 6 years old, and you're like, yeah, my son shit his pants at camp.
Don't forget.
Their friends aren't going to forget that one.
Right.
So,
or the friends' parents are going to tell their kids. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it's tough.
Whatever.
That kind of takes away from your like your post-its. So it's like, okay, now I got to really monitor what I'm writing.
Well, that's why I make it about me.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. That's good because then it's like, okay, well, I need with the calendar, for example, it's like, okay, I have to come out with a whole other 300 plus post-its for the following year. And
the good thing about it is I have zero memory. So like when I do what people, you know, my son's like, you wrote this about me. I'll be like, I did. I don't know.
But hey, man, I was trying to put out 300 post-its. Okay, I got to make a calendar. I got work to do.
Your dad had to pay the bills. I had to make fun of you to pay the bills.
Right.
I bought you that new Lego set.
Again, we can just go back to you could you had to go buy him a new Nerf gun.
Yeah. I bought that Nerf gun, and I had to buy you. Me making fun of you pooping your pants, bought you that new Nerf gun, and you're gonna like it.
Damn right.
You know how much this medicine costs?
Guess we do the day, damn it.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh God.
So Chris, what do you have going on coming up that you really want to talk about or plug or anything like that?
Well, I have the new calendar, the
Yeah.
2020 calendar. It's available on Amazon, calendars.com, stuff like that. My Instagram account, it's at Mess with a Bottle. Uh, I'm working on so many things that like it's kind of hard to like drill them all down.
Yeah.
But I do keep that updated enough to like, I'm maybe working on another book.
Cool.
I don't know if it's going to be parenting or what. I'm kind of like right now big into how to organize your day, how to like actually what brought it up was, so I get up at like 5:30 in the morning. I usually read for a little bit, journal, um listen or watch something like slightly motivating, and then it like kind of like gets me ready for the day. And then I'll like run or go to the gym and stuff. And the other day I posted a video on Instagram and it was like me working out at like 8 o'clock. And so many people like DM'd me and they were like, "Oh my God, how are you in the gym before 8 o'clock?" And I'm like, I've done like 10 things before 8 o'clock.
Right.
So it's kind of like, packing the most into your day, especially because I feel like a lot of that stuff is never really written with parents in mind, especially parents of young kids. So like I used to read all of these like organizational things and like hack type stuff, and I would always read it, and I always thought like a lot of them should be like at the bottom say, but none of this will work if you have small kids.
Yeah. Asterisks. Yeah.
Like get up at 5 and like do all this stuff. Okay, but you can't make a sound in your house because then 2 children under the age of 4 will be up and on your ass for like the next 2 hours. So like I'm trying to do it for for people with kids of a younger age to be like, all right, this is how you get around that type of stuff.
Sure, that's awesome.
And I love sharing things that are like motivating to people. So that's why some of those are going into like more of the like kind of pep talky motivation type stuff.
Yeah.
So it's still based on parenting, but more about like basically giving parents, give ourselves some slack when it comes to parenting.
I love that.
Like, work together for the benefit.
Yeah, I mean, we say that all the time. People criticize over certain parenting techniques or like screen time, for example. And like one of the things that we always say is literally whatever works and makes you guys sane and isn't harmful to your family, keep doing it. Whatever works. Like,
right. Yeah.
Don't judge, or you shouldn't allow other people to judge your parenting style
or worry about what
style, or you shouldn't. People are going to judge, but don't let that affect how you raise your kids, because at the end of the day, whatever works for you guys works.
Yeah. Right. I always tell people, like, when they ask me about that, they're like, how do you feel when people like criticize your parenting or whatever? I always say, just tell people to mind their business.
Right.
Just mind your own business.
That's true.
I mean, it's really what it comes down to is that, the problem is that today we have so much information available at a click, and so there's, if you want to look up something about co-sleeping with kids, you can find a million articles that says it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And then you'll find some articles that say it's fine. And
the thing is, you're going to click on the first thing that pops up. It's the most credible, right? So it's like, I'm going to read this one.
And people take it as gospel, but the reality is that like every kid is different. There's cultures where you co-sleep until they're like 10 years old. And it's like, it seems weird to us, but hey, if it works,
that works.
Whatever, man, like, who am I to judge you on your parenting style? Like, if you need to get that extra 45 minutes or an hour of sleep to make it through your day, more power to you.
For sure. Yeah.
So
people give their opinion, but their opinion is based on their own life and their own experience. And it doesn't work for other people. So that's why, like, unless I'm specifically asked, like, what's your opinion on this? I'm just like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's kind of weird because it's one of our fears when we started doing this was like, well, we don't want somebody to think that there's only one way to do something because it's not true at all.
And that could go for not only for the parents though. It's like sometimes you have to adjust to a child because every kid is different.
Yeah, every kid's different.
Like, you know what I mean? Like every kid is completely different. You might have to treat them not treat them differently, but a different strategy.
Different methods. Yeah.
Different methods.
Yeah.
Because that works differently for them than the next child. So
Right.
I don't know. So
At the end of the day, whatever works, and do
That's
your
our goal.
best to raise good humans.
yeah,
That's kind of thing that we're pushing now is try and just raise good humans. You call it morality, call it values, call it whatever you want. But if you can put good humans into the world, like you're doing a good thing for the world.
That's the goal.
I agree.
So,
If I had a drink, I'd drink to that, but I forgot my drink.
oh, I'm sorry. All right, man. Well, if there's nothing else, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on and giving us some of your stories. You got awesome stuff to follow. I can't wait to keep following along.
We'll be getting that calendar too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please. And I'll come back next. I'll come back for 2021.
Awesome. Let's do that.
Plenty to talk about.
Very cool. Yeah, we should. It's something we do want to do is kind of keep up with our guests and find out how because every day, every month, every year is going to be different with your fatherhood journey. So definitely love having you on and telling us your stories. And I wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks. The next time if I do come on, it'll be like 100 episodes from now. Can we invite all the people who've been looking through that window to be studio?
That window. So usually we're turned the cameras over on that side, so we're facing this wall here, and people go past that window, and usually we're on the weekends too. So it's like
I've seen so many people look in and look. Like I feel like I'm on the Today Show.
So it's a pretty busy street. Oh, look, someone's in their car right now. So yeah, it's a pretty busy street. It's a really cool little office building, and like he said, we're usually faced that way.
Yeah.
And so we'll have it in our peripheral and we'll be doing a show or whatever. And
so picture it this way. There's 10 bars on the street right here.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You guys need a studio audience. You need a studio audience.
So the one night we did, there was I don't know, 12 or 15 people outside, and it was like a Saturday night. They're wasted, and we're trying to do this thing,
Gotta invite them in.
See, our videos, we'll look over, we'll just wave to people, or it's constant.
Nice.
So hopefully we'll make it big enough to where people will start buying tickets.
You guys need a sign to tell them what your actual show is, so they can see it.
So we usually do have one out there. We have a little thing with our logo, and then it says "on air." Did we put it?
We didn't put it up today. It goes in that window right there.
Yeah.
But it felt like I was on the Today Show. I felt like I was watching the Today Show. People were walking by, they were waving. You're gonna see it. You'll see it.
It's basically the Today Show.
So you're on the left, we're on the right. So we're looking at you this whole time. So we didn't even notice it.
But I've been you're gonna see it when you watch this back.
All right.
How people walking by and waving.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, Chris, we will we'll definitely link all of your stuff in this episode. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks,
and we will definitely keep in touch, and we'll do it again soon, all right?
I'd love to. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. All right, for Steve, I'm Ian. We are the Talking Dads. This has been episode 25, and that is a wrap, right?
It's a wrap.
All right, cool. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, if you like what you just heard or watched, please don't be shy. Give us a like, subscribe, follow us on our social media pages, and drop us some comments, literally, about anything. Your support means the world to us and legit keeps us going. And most of all, thank you for all of your support.